Hello, everyone. This is Tom Brady, the Associate Dean for the Homeland Security Training Institute at the College of DuPage. And as you know, since we're working from home and aren't allowed to do our podcast at the current time because we're not allowed to get in the studio, we're doing some Zoom casts. And today, I'm going to be speaking with one of our excellent Homeland Security Training Institute adjunct faculty who will be teaching a couple of upcoming classes called Fundamentals of Fireworks for First Responders and Fundamentals of Fireworks for the General Public. And that's coming up in June, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. She's a bomb expert, and she had a long, distinguished career in federal law enforcement. And it's my honor to welcome Tina Bayless. Hi, Tina.
Hi, Tom.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks, considering all the crazy in the world right now. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Like everyone else, hunkered down trying to get through this. But, we wanted to continue our conversation with some of our adjunct faculty, some of the people who help the Homeland Security Training Institute be what it is. And I appreciate you taking time to come on today. It's my understanding, Tina, that you worked for the Federal Law Enforcement Agency, the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, ATF, from 1989 to 2017. Could you briefly explain the role of ATF as an organization and some of the responsibilities of an ATF agent?
Sure. ATF is both a criminal enforcement agency and a regulatory enforcement agency. As a special agent with ATF, we were responsible for enforcing the laws as it pertained to firearms, arson, and explosives. There is an alcohol and tobacco element there as well, but not as prevalent as, say, like the firearms cases are. Firearms cases were probably 75% of ATF's mission, and 25% of that mission was then arson and explosives. And then the regulatory enforcement side, we have investigators that are responsible for inspecting the firearms industry, the explosives industry, et cetera. But so they're non-criminal, non-gun carrying, and the agents were gun carrying.
Okay, well, that's great. It's good to know that. I'm familiar with ATF. My career was in the United States Postal Inspection Service, and our offices were almost adjacent to each other downtown. So I spent a lot of times in ATF offices and working with some of the wonderful agents in the organization. So I'm very familiar with you.
Yeah, great. Yes, we did have a good partnership, especially when it came to mail bombings, for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. Tina, I'm interested. You have a lot of expertise in bomb recognition. I consider you to be a bomb expert. I looked at your resume, and it's very, very impressive. How did you first get interested in bomb recognition?
So for me, when I went through the ATF Academy, I knew very little about law enforcement and really ATF for that matter, because I was only 22 years old at the time. So I didn't have any other local police experience. So I knew right away, based on what we were learning, that my interest was in arson and explosives for sure. And I was eventually able to direct my career path that way. So that's where it started. Then in Chicago was very unique at the time, where they had a group just for arson and a group just for explosives agents. So I was able to get into that group that was just for explosives agent, and I had some wonderful mentors. So it just kind of went from there. Just my brain worked in a way that really enjoyed doing those kind of very detailed and organized type of investigations, more or less.
That's great. So you just kind of naturally went toward that in terms of your interests.
Yeah, I felt too that in order to better do those investigations, I needed to learn more about how fire and explosives worked. And so that led me along the path of becoming a certified explosive specialist with ATF, or that is a 2-year program for agents where we learn how to safely seize and dispose of explosive materials. And then eventually the certified explosive specialist can have an opportunity to become a certified bomb technician by going to the Hazardous Devices School in Huntsville, Alabama, which is where all the civilian bomb technicians are trained, and the program is run by the FBI. So in the latter part of my career, I was very fortunate to be given the opportunity to go there. So the last 3 years of my career, I was also a certified bomb technician as well.
I always think of when I hear about bomb technicians, and I've worked with a few throughout my career, but I always think that the certification in that there's a lot of science involved. I just get that there's a lot of science. Is that true?
Yes, it is helpful to have a little bit of an understanding of explosives theory that gives you the ability to understand how explosions work and why things happen the way they are. And then when you go to a post-blast scene, you get a sense of a better understanding and knowing how to process that scene, and then later be able to explain that and testify to that in court. So it does help to have a little bit. It's no scientist by any means, but I did have the ability to have at least a basic understanding of it.
Sure, that's understood. Can you tell us, Tina, a little bit about one of the most interesting investigations that helped define your career path as an ATF agent? Is there one that stands out to you?
Sure, there is one that it's an arson case, although it did involve a house explosion as well. My entire group, it was a complete team effort, as most of these cases are team efforts because they can be rather voluminous and take a long time to put together for trial. So it was John T. Bassey, and he had 3 house fires, 1 house explosion. He killed his first wife, tried to kill the second wife and his son to the first dead wife and the 3rd house fire, if memory serves me. And when you work very closely for that long period of time with that amount of people and you get to know the victims of the case, it means a lot. I mean, it has an impact on you as an agent and your career in terms of, people and humanity and the things you do to help people. And the reason most of us get into this business is to help people. So it was a really good case. It did end up on Dateline and A&E cold case files. So that was, and there were some impressive people that I had a chance to work with on that case that we're still friends to this day.
Oh, that's great. That's important. As a bomb recognition expert, I know that you spent some time working and assisting with the National Football League. Can you tell us a little bit about that, what you're doing with them now?
Sure. So after I retired, a friend of mine from the FBI, she had also retired. She obtained a position that is called a security representative with the NFL. The security representative works directly for New York for the NFL, and they are assigned to the team wherever they live locally. So it just so happened that I had worked with this FBI agent for 7 years on another, what I would call career-defining case. It was an organized crime mob bombing case. And she and I had worked together extraordinarily well. And we ended up putting that case together after 7 years, successfully got convictions in court. It was a racketeering case. And she gave me a call after she got the position and asked if I wanted to work with her again. And she said, it is only part-time, so it's not full-time. So that's nice to be able to still work part-time in retirement and not full-time, I guess. And so my skill set with arson and explosives does work in that element because we basically, my position as an associate security rep is compliance, making sure that team security, stadium security, all the entities involved from A to Z are complying with NFL best practices and policies, which does include, explosives type mitigation things related to major sporting events.
Well, it's obviously a benefit to the NFL to have you helping them because I know how important that is.
Thanks. I hope so. It's an annual contract, so they did renew us for another year, so we'll see what happens this year with the season.
It's always a positive. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Tina, a couple of courses that you have coming up to teach at the Homeland Security Training Institute at the College of DuPage is Fundamentals of Fireworks for First Responders and Fundamentals of Fireworks for the General Public. With all the experience you have in your career, why did you feel it was important to teach first responders and civilians about fireworks? Is there something that drove you to teach those courses?
Yes. One particular thing was the safety aspect, first and foremost. I spent my entire career as an operator. I never rose into the ranks of management. So one of the things that was very near and dear to me was the safety aspect. And in part because a friend of mine that was a bomb technician in Wichita, Kansas, was killed during a disposal operation of fireworks. And that was in October of 2000. And I will never forget it because I had visited with him and his partner probably about 2 weeks prior to the accident happening. And I vowed that I would do everything in my power to bring the training and the resources that ATF had to offer to the bomb technicians that I worked with locally and across the country. I never wanted to go to another funeral like that. So the safety element is the biggest thing. I know I'm not anti-fireworks, but I think that if people had a better understanding and appreciation of actually what they have, that they're not just fireworks, they're actually explosives and cardboard tubes. So the safety element was the biggest part. And then when we would go on calls for first responders, they didn't always seem to know exactly what they could do, say for a call to a residence where someone was doing a show and another neighbor had called to complain. So it's basically giving first responders the tools to know what they can and can't do when they arrive on a call, or a post blast for that matter. Like say something has exploded, what do they do when they get there? They might have a general idea, but I think, and same for the public, but I just think that we can inform them a little bit more about what fireworks actually are, the laws and regulations that apply, the inherent hazards that apply, and people can operate more safely around the 4th of July and different times of the year where fireworks are most commonly used.
Well, two things from that. First of all, I'm sorry about the loss of your friend.
Thanks.
Secondly, it really interests me in this class because I don't know much about fireworks except seeing it when they go off on the 4th of July. So if let's say I'm a person from the general public and I decide to take that course, what would I walk away with after taking a course like that?
Yeah, so please know it's not a pyrotechnician course. I'm not there to teach you how to be a pyrotechnician. It would be my goal to inform you more about what fireworks are, how they're made, how they're constructed, the inherent hazards of these type of explosives because they are sensitive to heat, shock, and friction. So they can initiate or ignite much more readily than I think people realize. What's legal, what's not legal? Illinois is one of the few states left, literally I think 3 states that still considers fire or still has laws where fireworks are illegal. And I think that people aren't necessarily aware of what they can and can't have, or maybe they are. And we just want to drive that home a little bit more because ultimately at the end of the day, if you are caught with fireworks that you're not supposed to have, it's incumbent upon the first responders and then ultimately bomb technicians to have to dispose of those materials. Fireworks are one of the most inherently hazard materials that bomb technicians have to dispose of. More accidents happen with bomb technicians disposing of explosive materials than any other thing that they have to do. So it's to help the public understand too the dangers involved for us once we have to seize them if they're using something that they're not allowed to have.
I think the safety aspect of that course would be phenomenal, and I think that's probably the underlying message that you're trying to get through.
Yes. Yes, most definitely. That would be my primary message. Yes, thank you.
Great. Well, Tina, as we close, I have one more question for you. Now, one of our employees who works for me at the college, our firearms range master is Matt Gorecki. And I've gotten to know Matt. I've worked with him now for the last 3-4 years. And I know that you worked with him when he worked with the ATF. And tell me a little bit about what it was like working with Matt.
So I can say that it was always fun, that's for sure. So Matt, I give a shout out to him he was the one that recommended me for the position at COD. So I give him a shout out for that. I did spend I think I was on the ATF special response team or ATS version of the SWAT team for about 4 years with Matt. Matt was always extremely supportive of my abilities to shoot and participate in doing things, you know, at the same level that he did. So I definitely always appreciated support from him, and he has a very eclectic, you know, sense of personality, which I appreciate. Loves different kinds of foods. He's into knives. He's into hunting, all that good stuff. But always very supportive and always gave great instruction when we were on the firearms range.
Well, that's great. It's good to know he hasn't lost that, because he does the same thing with us. So he's very consistent that way.
Great.
We've been speaking with Tina Bayless, who is one of our faculty members, who is going to be teaching a couple of courses for us coming up this summer. One is Fundamentals of Fireworks for First Responders, and the second one is Fundamentals of Fireworks for the General Public. I know those courses are at the end of June. What are the dates for those courses, Tina?
So the one for first responders is, I think, going to end up on the calendar for June 17th, and then the one for the general public will be June 24th, both Wednesdays. And I believe that the one for first responders is a full day and then a half a day for the general public.
Okay, and for information on those courses, you can go to our website, which is www.cod.edu/HSTI. All of our courses are listed there, and you can register for the courses right from there. Tina, I want to thank you for your time today. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and we appreciate everything you're doing now and with the Homeland Security Training Institute at College of DuPage.
Thanks very much. I'm excited to get started, so thanks for having me today.
Okay, you take care of yourself and stay safe.
Thank you. Same to you.
All right, bye, Tina.